Hello, I'm Heather Young, and I'd like to welcome you all to the first Ranch Horse Virtual Boot Camp. We're going to talk a little bit about the ranch riding and ranch horse classes before we get started with the video. What you want is a horse that portrays a horse that you can use out on a ranch and ride him all day long. So you want something smooth, comfortable to ride, smooth in his transitions, smooth gait, smooth maneuvers. Yet you want a horse that's real handy and can get the job done. And one of you used the term tool. Yes, they are. A ranch horse is a tool, and so you want to keep that in mind. The horse needs to portray a good tool. Now, on the ranch, you can use whatever equipment you want to use. You can ride one-handed, two-handed. However, there's not a judge there. There's no regulations. The ranch horse classes, of course, we do have to follow the rules and regulations. So with that being said, I encourage each and every one of you to read up on your rule book for whichever association that you are going to be showing in. And in that rule book, you will not only find the equipment that is allowed, you will also find that there are penalties that can be incurred. So rather than me reading that stuff to you, I'd like for you all to read up on that and know what those penalties are. I am going to touch on the penalties. Reading the rules word for word, I'm not going to do that. One thing I want to touch on is you'll be given a pattern and you'll be given specific gaits and transitions. So whenever you go through the pattern, let's say the pattern calls from a lope to a walk. You'll see horses that'll lope, trot, walk. So in that instance, there is a penalty incurred. So if you were supposed to go from a lope to a walk and that horse trots 2 strides and then walks, he has incurred a 1-point penalty. If you read your rule book, you'll see that for a walk or jog, 2 strides or less is a 1-point penalty. For a walk or jog, more than 2 strides is a 3-point penalty. So the gait that's called for is a walk, and the horse actually trotted for 3 strides. Then there you're going to have a 3-point penalty because it was more than 2 strides. And so whatever gait that is specified, walk, trot, in that instance, the penalty is the 1 point for less than 2 strides, 2 strides or less, or 3 points penalty for more than 2 strides. If it's a lope and the horse breaks to a trot, let's say we're loping through our pattern and the horse breaks to a trot and then picks it back up, the strides don't matter in that instance. It's automatically a 3-point penalty. So I think everybody understands that. But one thing that I think that is overlooked, and I've even seen it overlooked in some judging, because this is a newer class in like AQHA and APHA, judges that haven't had a lot of education on it. And like I say, that's because it is a newer class and they weren't up for education yet, so they may miss that. When the horse the gait calls lope to walk and that horse jogs in between there, that is a penalty situation. So I really want to make sure that everybody understands that. Let's say that the pattern calls for lope, stop, 1.5 spin, and lope. So if that horse trots out of that spin, trots for 3 strides and then lopes, well, there we have a 3-point penalty. So he needs to be able to lope out. But be sure to read up on the rule book and get familiar with that. AQHA and APHA are very similar in their rules, as well as the NSBA, National Snaffle Bit Association. Stock horse is a little bit different in that they don't, their scoring's different, but it's similar, very similar. So I just want to talk a little bit about tack and clothing. That's totally up to you. You need to wear what you are most comfortable in and what you like, whatever is your style. As far as Romals over split reins, that is how it's up to you, and you want to use whichever is going to enable you to show your horse the best. This is a horse show, so we want everything to have smoothness and finesse. So keep those two words in mind, smoothness and finesse, and as you ride through your patterns, that's what we're looking for. Smoothness and finesse. A horse that can go out, do a day's work, he's smooth to ride, he can do the job, he has finesse. And like I said about the Romals or splits, some horses work better in Romals, some horses work better in split reins. That's personal preference. The judge does not care. That's style. If you want to wear chinks or if you want to wear shotgun chaps, again, that's style. The judge isn't going to get wrapped up in that. In fact, when you walk in the arena, they see the overall picture. Okay, do they look in place or do they look out of place? That's basically what they're seeing. And then from there, they're watching the horse and how he rides through the pattern. And whenever I say do they look in place or do they look out of place, what I mean by that is, did they come in with a big silver saddle that looks like they need to be in the Western Pleasure? That's not going to put a good taste in their mouth. So it's definitely going to weigh on their mind throughout the pattern. But they're not going to get really involved in, well, I prefer Romals and that person's riding in split reins. They don't worry about that, okay? So you need to wear what you're comfortable in, wear what you like, and ride your horse in whichever tack is going to enable you to get him shown to the best of his ability. When a judge is judging a class, there is a hierarchy to judging, and that hierarchy is first and foremost correctness, second is quality, third is degree of difficulty. So the first thing they're looking for when they're evaluating a maneuver is it correct? Okay, so if it's not correct, then there may or may not be a penalty involved, and it's probably going to be a negative maneuver score. And then they look at the quality of that maneuver. How is the quality? Did it have good quality to it, or did it have bad quality to it? And that will also help them evaluate that particular maneuver. And third, the last thing that they look at, the very last thing, they have to have correctness, they have to have quality, and then if they have degree of difficulty, that just adds more credit to that maneuver. Now, when I say degree of difficulty, I'm talking about, generally speaking, speed. So let's talk about if it calls for an extended lope. I want to see a horse go somewhere in that extended lope. Now, I don't mean look out of control. If it looks out of control, then we've lost correctness and quality, right? So they added degree of difficulty, but it's not good. It's not a credit earning situation. Now, a horse that is correct in his extended lope, he's going around, he's has smoothness, he has finesse, so he has quality. He's soft in his neck and face. He's not showing any resistance. He has quality. Now he's added that degree of difficulty, adding the lengthened stride and speed. So that's a credit earning situation. So when you think about quality, think about smoothness and finesse. We have to have smoothness and finesse and no resistance. The horse needs to be willfully guided with no resistance, just kind of like the reining. But in this instance, we're asking a horse to do things quicker and, of course, different maneuvers. So you will receive a pattern whenever you get to your horse show, And I want you to look at that pattern very closely and evaluate how it's drawn. You want to ride your pattern like it's drawn, and where it shows the horse does, where it shows the different transitions of gaits, that's where you want to like take that pattern and place it in the arena. And everywhere you see a transition, that's where you want that transition to happen. So you're going to plan ahead. You're going to look at your arena and versus your pattern and pick out some points where you want to make the transitions happen. So when you ride, you're going to ride with a plan that at the banner that says John Deere Tractor, for instance, is where I'm going to transition from my walk to my lope, and so on and so forth. So like I said, you want to take the picture of that pattern and place it in the arena in your mind, and everywhere you see a transition on that pattern, look for a point. It may be on the fence, it may be in the bleachers, wherever, however, and make it happen there. And you want it to happen within less than, I would say within about 5 feet. So it could be 5 feet before or 5 feet after, and you should be okay. Ideally, it's less than that, but make sure that it's in that realm, and you should be okay. And secondly, you'll see patterns where maybe the lines are really close together, and I'll show you a picture of that, pattern 1, after a while, where the lines are close together through the middle. Excuse me, that is actually the same line. It should be ridden as the same line, but they can't draw the lines over each other, so you have to draw it separately. But in all actuality, that is the same line. And like I said, I'm speaking of like pattern 1, and I will show you an example of that after a while. Excuse me. Another thing I want to touch on is it's very important to stay off the wall for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, most importantly probably, is if in certain arenas the judges are not able to see you. If the judge is sitting in close to the wall or whatever, or he can't see you. So you need to stay off the wall and ride in an area where that judge can see you and judge you properly. If he can't see and evaluate your gaits and your maneuvers, the very best you're going to get is a 0. But you could even get a negative score because he can't see you. So show your horse. And the second reason why you want to do that is if it calls for, say, a stop and a spin or a turn, well, if you're on top of the wall, you're going to have trouble making that maneuver happen. So stay off the walls. I cannot stress that enough. You have to stay off the walls. And some of us that are new to this, it kind of feels like a comfort zone to be on the wall, but you've got to step out of your comfort zone and stay away from it. So as a general rule, I tell people to stay about 20 feet off the wall, and that will really help you and allow the judge to judge you accordingly, and it will allow you to make your maneuvers accordingly. Okay, this horse has a good look. He's walking, has his ears forward, looks happy. Not a lot of degree of difficulty in the walk, so 0. Horse is trotting nice and straight, keeps his neck straight, neck's not moving side to side, rider staying off the wall. I'm going to 0 the trot, moves into the lope really nice and soft, very willing, happy, plus half the lope. The extended lope was nice, and he collected and went to the trot really nice, no resistance, plus half. Horse guided around nice. And that trot, so 0 the trot. Now this extended trot looks good. He's got some extension, good look about him, guiding good, plus half. Horse stopped really good, square, straight, obedient, roll back good, +1/2. Into the extended trot, again, has nice length and stride, very obedient, straight, +1/2 on the extended. Now we're at the collected, going across the poles. I'm going to 0 that. Moves into the lope really nice. 0 the lope. The lead change he did in 3 strides. Simple lead change. We will 0 that. Little resistance coming down to the trot. So the lope is a +1/2. He guided well. That trot I'm going to 0 because of the resistance, and the walk is a 0, and the stop and back is a +1/2. Nice. So I scored the first video, and here's the video again, and what I want you to notice is how precise the pattern is ridden, and the straight lines that the rider rides on, and how the horse is obedient everywhere. He does have a little bit of resistance towards the end, but the horse is willfully guided. He waits on the rider. He's carrying himself straight. He's not leaning anywhere side to side. His neck is staying straight. He moves up and down in his transitions willfully. He looks happy, has a really, really good look about him. He looks like a horse that can go out and be ridden all day on a ranch. However, the rider does ride him with smoothness and finesse. Everything is very smooth and finesse, and here, this is your tool, that horse that can stop and roll back in the working pins. Now he can get across the pins and go stop a cow. That's what you're looking for in this class. A horse that can be ridden all day long, comfortably, and yet get a job done. They have to handle well, because when you're working in pens, working cattle, they need to be able to stop and turn and be handy. And this horse portrays all of that. And again, really keep your eye on how he carries his neck throughout on the straight lines. The horse's neck is straight. He's not moving it side to side at all. Nice run. It doesn't have a whole lot of degree of difficulty. This is a small arena, so it's hard to show a lot of degree of difficulty, but you can see that's a nice solid run. Okay, same pattern, different horse. This horse is moving forward, ears forward, really good look about her. Not a lot of degree of difficulty going on, so the walk is a 0. Has a really good look. Again, keep in mind the straightness and how the horse is obedient, how it moves up and down in its transitions. Went right into the trot very nicely, very soft. Ground covering trot. I'll probably +1/2 that. Moved into the lope really nice, very nice and soft, very pleasant looking. Moves into the lope was a 0. The extended lope is a 0. Came down to that trot, really nice transition, guiding around really good. So the trot's a +1/2. Moves up to the extended trot, guiding around, really good look. Ground covering, +1/2, extended trot. Good stop. Roll back was okay, 0 on that. Now, did you notice that the horse trotted, loped, astride, trotted again? So penalty 1, 0 on the trot. Gets across the poles okay, 0. Moves into the lope really nice. Good lead change. So we'll +1/2 the lope, +1/2 the lead change. The next slope was nice, +1/2. Little rough coming down to the trot. We'll 0 that. Nice walk. I really like the look of this horse, but again, not a lot of degree of difficulty on the walk, so 0 the walk, -1/2 stop and back. So as you've seen on both horses, They didn't have a lot of degree of difficulty, hence they did not earn a whole lot of credit. We had some plus halves in various places. So in order to earn credit, you've got to be very forward-moving, lengthened stride. What you're seeing here is a lot of correctness, and that is your base. Remember, correctness is the base of the pattern. That's the first thing that they are looking for as judges. Then they look at the quality and then the degree of difficulty. So in order to earn those plus ones and plus 1.5s, you've got to be correct, and you have to have the degree of difficulty, which is really lengthening those strides, adding the speed, like in the stop and roll back. As you can see, it's very nice, it's very correct, but not a lot of degree of difficulty. She didn't just crack back and go on, and hence she didn't earn the credit. But the main thing I want you to see from these patterns is the correctness of how it's ridden, the precision. The patterns are ridden very precise, very straight lines. Horses have straight necks. Their necks aren't moving side to side. They're not riding around looking off to the outside. Their neck is straight, and those are very important things. The transitioning up and down is very important, that it's soft, it's smooth, the horse is willing to do it, no resistance. And I'd like to see this horse back a little faster to earn credit. Okay, this is pattern 2 from your AQHA rule book. This horse is being ridden very correctly, and I want you to pay attention to that as you watch the run, the pattern placement, how straight the lines are, how obedient the horse is, how she waits. We're not going to have a lot of degree of difficulty in this run. This is a schooling run, and he's just wanting to keep her very correct. But she goes around, willfully guided. She's soft, she's straight in her lines, she's straight in her neck. He's staying well off the wall so that it doesn't interfere with his pattern. She could have stopped better there and lifted her neck a little bit. And again, here he's taking his time in the turn. So this is not a credit earning stop and turn, taking his time loping off. At best, those would be zeros, if not minus halves. In today's scoring, that'd probably be a minus half, due to the fact this is a very tough class. There's a lot of entries and you have to separate them. It wasn't horrible, but the horse just showed a little resistance in the stop, and she showed some resistance in her turn by lifting her neck and sticking her nose out. The horse did a simple lead change, which I'll touch on in a minute. Notice she's looking at the poles, really looking. She didn't refuse. She hit the first pole, so that's negative. That's not credit earning. Back to the simple lead change. It's fine as long as you do it within 3 strides. Simple or flying is accepted. Horse could have stopped better. Okay, this is pattern 2 from your AQHA rule book. This horse is being ridden very correctly, and I want you to pay attention to that as you watch the run, the pattern placement, how straight the lines are, how obedient the horse is, how she waits. We're not going to have a lot of degree of difficulty in this run. This is a schooling run, and he's just wanting to keep her very correct. But she goes around, willfully guided. She's soft, she's straight in her lines, she's straight in her neck. He's staying well off the wall so that it doesn't interfere with his pattern. She could have stopped better there and lifted her neck a little bit. And again, here he's taking his time in the turn. So this is not a credit earning stop and turn, taking his time loping off. At best, those would be zeros, if not minus halves. In today's scoring, that'd probably be a minus half, due to the fact This is a very tough class. There's a lot of entries and you have to separate them. It wasn't horrible, but the horse just showed a little resistance in the stop, and she showed some resistance in her turn by lifting her neck and sticking her nose out. The horse did a simple lead change, which I'll touch on in a minute. Notice she's looking at the poles, really looking. She didn't refuse. She hit the first pole, so that's negative. That's not credit earning. Back to the simple lead change. It's fine as long as you do it within 3 strides. Simple or flying is accepted. Horse could have stopped better. Scoring this rider and horse. She walks in. Looks really good. She is moving forward. That's a nice walk. I'm going to plus half her walk. Her jog is a little bit, it doesn't cover enough ground to really earn credit and be a higher degree of difficulty. So we'll 0 the trot. She moves into the extended trot nicely. He's kind of having to pull on her a little bit. She's wanting to look off, but he prevented her from looking off. So that's a 0. Moves into the lope really nice and soft. Lopes down nice. 0 the lope. The stop, she did not get in the ground with her hindquarters real strong. He's taking his time setting her up to make this turn. Minus half as he again takes his time loping off. So that is a minus half maneuver. Moves into the lope. We'll 0 that lope. Actually, I'm going to minus half the lope. It was supposed to be an extended lope. So minus half, 0 the lope across the top. Horse guides very well. Did a simple lead change in 3 strides. 0 the lead change. 0 that lope. Now she's scared of the poles. Really scared of them. Hits the first pole pretty good. I'm going to minus 1 that maneuver. Moves into the trot nice. 0 the trot. Really moved up into that extended trot good. Plus half the extended trot. Did not get in the ground good and square. So I hope you learned something from the first set of videos. What I want you to pay most attention to is the fact that the horses are very obedient. They carry themselves in a very straight manner, and they move up and down in their transitions very softly, very willfully, and they're very willfully guided. And in order to earn credit, a horse must have some quality and degree of difficulty added to their already correct maneuver. You will be receiving another video later on this week, adding to what you've learned today. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to send me either an email or a message on Facebook, and I'll get back with you. That's what I want everyone to do with this boot camp, is write down your questions, your thoughts, and be sure to communicate those with me. And I want to get those answered for you. So don't hesitate to send me any questions that you have. We'll see you next time.